Former EU Foreign Policy Chief Federica Mogherini has been formally accused of procurement fraud and corruption by Belgian authorities. Nobel Prize winner in economics Philippe Aghion told Euronews that he thinks European measures are hindering innovation.
The European Union will ban Russian gas pipelines and liquefied natural gas from entering the bloc by the end of 2026 and mid-2027.
Bulgaria's Council of Ministers has withdrawn a controversial budget draft that sought to steeply increase taxes after immense domestic pressure and protests.
Former EU Foreign Policy Chief Federica Mogherini was released from custody after being formally accused of procurement fraud and corruption by Belgian authorities. The probe concerns contracts to train future diplomats at the College of Europe, which she now leads. According to the European Public Prosecutor's Office, which launched the investigation, European Commission official Stefano Sannino and a third suspect were also arrested. They were later released after questioning and being formally notified of the accusations against them. The EPPO's statement said that the accusations also concern conflict of interest and violation of professional secrecy. Police had earlier searched the College of Europe in Bruges and the European External Action Service in Brussels. The college said in a statement that it will cooperate with authorities in the case. Europe has over-regulated and punishes failure too severely, hindering the next wave of innovation, Nobel Prize winner in economics Philippe Aghion told Euronews in an exclusive interview on our new morning show, Europe Today.
So you need a single market. We don't have that. Each country, in each member state, has its own regulation to the European regulation. We call that gold plating.
The French economist said the EU is falling behind the US and China in competition and innovation as global tension rise. Aghion argues that part of the reason Europe is falling behind is due to how it treats failure.
In Europe, we don't take enough risk. We don't, forgive short-term failure. To innovate breakthrough, you need to tell people, no problem if you fail. We encourage you to fail, because if you fail, it's that you tried.
The Nobel Prize winner said Europe will have to deploy more capital in high-risk sectors connected to innovation and called for financial institutions and venture capital to play a bigger role in the EU.
We don't have financial institutions that encourage risk-taking sufficiently. Europe is a regulatory giant and a budgetary dwarf. We regulate too much and we don't invest enough.
Aghion won this year's Nobel Prize alongside fellow economists Peter Howitt and Joel Mokyr for their pioneering research into the relationship between technological innovation and long-term economic growth.
I did not expect it at all.
The European Union will ban Russian gas pipelines and liquefied natural gas from entering the bloc by the end of 2026 and mid-2027. There will be exceptions for Hungary and Slovakia, which will be allowed to tap Moscow's gas in case of supply disruption. Despite this, Hungary has said it will challenge the law at the European Court of Justice.
This has been a very short night for the negotiators, but today is indeed a historic day for our union. Last night, we reached a provisional agreement on the Commission's proposal to fully phase out Russian fossil fuels. We're turning that page, and we're turning it for good. This is the dawn of a new era, the era of Europe's full energy independence from Russia.
Breaking free from Russian energy imports has been a priority for the EU since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022. Ever since, the EU has announced various measures to diversify energy suppliers and reduce reliance on Russia.
As we slashed Russian imports of fossil fuels massively, we also cut the revenues that Russia uses to wage its war of aggression against Ukraine. We were paying to Russia 12 billion euros per month at the beginning of the war for fossil fuels. Now we're down to 1.5 billion per month, still too much. We aim to bring it down to zero.
EU countries will now be required to develop national diversification plans with concrete actions and timelines to cease imports of Russian natural gas and oil by March 1st, 2026.
Talks between U.S. President Donald Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff and his son-in-law Jared Kushner and Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow on Tuesday yielded no breakthrough. The talks were aimed at exploring ways to end the war in Ukraine, well into its fourth year, amid Washington's renewed push to end the fighting via diplomatic means. Putin's foreign policy advisor Yuri Ushakov said the talks were highly constructive, despite not reaching an agreement.
Беседа была весьма полезной, конструктивной, весьма содержательной и продолжалась не 5 минут, а 5 часов. То есть была возможность обстоятельно обсудить перспективы дальнейшей совместной работы по достижению регулирования, долгосрочного мирного урегулирования украинского кризиса.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky, speaking on the meeting as he visited the Irish Taoiseach Micheál Martin in Dublin, stressed that his country must be involved in the process.
Важливо, щоб все це було справедливо і відкрито, щоб не було ніякої гри за спиною України, щоб нічого не було вирішено без України про нас, про наше майбутнє.
The Kremlin appears to not be willing to back down from its maximalist demands outlined in the initial U.S. proposal, which includes Ukraine ceding large amounts of territory to Russia and a permanent ban from joining NATO. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio claimed progress was made, but acknowledged that peace may still have some way to go. The Bulgarian Council of Ministers has withdrawn the controversial draft budget for 2026 after immense domestic pressure and major protests. The budget proposed a steep rise in taxes and social security contributions, which would mainly affect workers and ordinary people. The reversal was announced on Tuesday after more than 100,000 people stormed the streets nationwide on Monday night to oppose it.
Днес правителството взе решение да оттегли съгласно процедурата, предвидена в правилника за организация и дейността на Народното събрание, проектите на Закон за държавен бюджет и двата бюджета на Здравната каса и на общественото осигуряване.
The protests were organized by the main opposition coalition between the We Continue the Change and Democratic Bulgaria parties, who are now calling for the government's resignation and early elections.
Видяхме, че правителството този път, може би, чу протеста и оттегля бюджета. Това можеше да бъде избягнато, ако се беше случило миналата седмица. Вече е късно. Чухме хората на протеста. Хората на протеста искат оставката на това правителство и излизането на Борисов и Пеевски от българската политика.
Prime Minister Zhelyadskov has ruled out the government's resignation, citing a need for stability as the country prepares to enter the Eurozone. Sofia is set to adopt the euro from the 1st of January.
The Trump administration has paused all immigration applications, including green card and U.S. citizenship processing, filed by immigrants from 19 non-European countries, including Afghanistan and Somalia. According to an official memo, the new policy stems from the attack on U.S. National Guard members in Washington last week, in which an Afghan man was arrested as a suspect. Trump also stepped up his rhetoric against Somalis, disparaging the country and accusing Somali immigrants of not contributing to U.S. welfare.
I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you, okay? Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country. Their country's no good for a reason. Their country stinks, and we don't want them in our country. I could say that about other countries, too.
According to U.S. media reports, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, has been directed by the Trump administration to target undocumented Somali immigrants in Minneapolis, home to the largest Somali immigrant population in the U.S. Many of the migrants who moved from Somalia to the U.S. left in the 1990s during the country's decades-long civil war.
Pope Leo XIV expressed support to the people of southern Lebanon as he referenced the ongoing conflict there during his farewell speech at the Beirut airport, wrapping up the first foreign trip of his pontificate. Christians in the south had been disappointed that his visit did not include a visit to their areas, which were battered by last year's war between Israel and Hezbollah and are still the target of regular Israeli airstrikes.
Faisons tomber les armes de nos fermetures ethniques et politiques. Ouvrons nos confessions religieuses à la rencontre réciproque. Réveillons au plus profond de nous-mêmes le rêve d'un Liban uni. On triomphe la paix et la justice, où tous puissent se reconnaître frères et sœurs.
As Lebanon copes with years of economic and political crises, Pope Leo XIV sought to bring a message of peace but also justice, characterized by his visit to the blast site of the deadly 2020 port explosion. In a prayer, he urged the country's political leaders to pursue the truth as a means of peace and reconciliation in the country. On Monday, he presided over a gathering of Lebanon's Christian and Muslim spiritual leaders, celebrating the country's interfaith coexistence as another message of peace in the conflict-plagued region.